Guys, think about this. Starting this fall, you have 4 years of students that have never paid. Yeah, they know their student loan bill exists. Yeah, they know they need to come up with, anywhere from, let's say, $200, $800 a month, but they've never had to actually implement it yet. They've built relationships and everything around as if they didn't have a student loan. Those are the people, mark my words, who are going to have it the roughest. Borrowers brace for tough budget choices after student loan payments resume by Nightline, which I believe is, of course, ABC.
Hi, Bubba.
Hi, Mom.
At 4 p.m. every day, Sarah Wood welcomes home her husband, Ross, and their 8-year-old twin daughters.
Apples and peanut butter, cheese and crackers.
Ross teaches at the girls' school in Denver. That, too, was once Sarah's career.
I come out of grad school at the age 27, an educator ready to take on the world of special education.
Sarah's dream was to teach children with autism.
Now, I can tell you right now, oh, and of course, there'll be a link for this in the description box if you want to watch it without interruptions. I can tell you right now, being a 18-year middle school teacher, all right, she wants to go into special needs. She wants to teach kids with autism. My mom was also a special needs instructor. Of course, this is my late mom. And it's a thankless job, I will say that, but it's also, unfortunately, just like most jobs in education, folks, it doesn't pay a lot, all right? Anytime you want to go into education, it doesn't pay. And even if you go into private school, people think that private school pays more. It actually, on most of the time, it will pay less than what you will make working in public school, because private school is seen as more elite. I think it's also viewed a lot of the times as though you're not going to have that many difficult children that you might deal with, say, in a public school setting, because a private school, by the very mention of it being private, they can kind of pick and choose, okay, who they want to have at their school. So to a lot of people's surprise, public school pays more, private school actually pays less. So she wants to be a special education teacher, or she was.
So she decided to take out a $118,000 student loan to get her master's in education from Columbia University.
Stop. Pause. Time. All right. What do we know about Columbia, family? What do we know? Feel free to type away in the comments if you want. All right. I may not respond directly to your comment, so don't be offended if I don't, but by all means, type in the comments if you wish. Okay. Columbia, one of the most expensive Ivy League schools you can attend. I will be honest. Okay. Here I am. I'm at 56. I dreamt of going to Columbia. Who doesn't dream of Columbia, Harvard, Stanford, these really high-end elite schools? But she wants to be a social worker. You do not go to an Ivy League school to hold a public service job. Even if you wanted to, let's just say you wanted to be a school superintendent, you do not need an Ivy League education for that. In fact, our either 2 or 3 superintendents ago, Elia, I believe, she had 2 master degrees. Okay. Elia, who was in charge of Hillsborough County superintendent, she had 2 master degrees, and she became superintendent here in Tampa, and she maintained it for several years when I was a new teacher 18 years ago. You don't need these Ivy League things, not to be a public school teacher. So 118,000 is what she spent.
I applied to a handful of education schools, and I got into the best. And there was pride in that, right?
She started teaching in Denver.
These are great memories. I remember all of these kids so well.
Lexi says, I love you.
I love her too.
But when their twin daughters were born, the weight of the loans became crushing.
There you go. You go.
Now, she said that there was pride in her attending Columbia. Those of us who are in education, I can relate to what she's saying. I went and got a double master's degree. I got 1 master's degree in corporate management. Actually, I think it was called organizational management. University of Phoenix, a semi-defunct school. All right. I mean, it's still operational and still considered credible, but it's gone through a lot of ups and downs as far as its reputation. But that aside, I have my teaching degree from the University of South Florida. I did not need to get a master's in education. I did not need to get one. Why did I get a master's in education? Because I already had a bachelor's and I already had a master's to begin with. All right. So here I am in 2006. All right. And I'm entering with actually double master's, but I didn't need the master's in education. So why did I get it? I got it because I didn't want to come in with subpar skills. In other words, I didn't just want to be any teacher. I wanted to be a really good teacher. I didn't want to be mediocre. I didn't want to be a teacher that, could just get by, that could just get by. I wanted to be the type of teacher that parents could feel very confident about, administration would want to keep around, and students could learn from. Unfortunately, however, having that mindset just about sunk me financially. And that's the hard part. That's the really sad part is you actually want to be the best teacher you can, but it's going to cost you dearly. And there are a lot of people who will say, well, if a teacher can't afford it, the teacher shouldn't go to school. But then if you had a choice, who do most people want to have teaching their kid? If you had a choice between someone with a doctorate or a master's or a bachelor's, who would you pick? Well, of course, most people would go for the doctorate first, then they would go for the master's. But the problem is those teachers, people like me, we aren't paid enough for the most part to pay off that debt. And that's where I failed miserably. I entered and got a second master's, but I couldn't pay off the debt.
You got your snack between the loans, the amount of that, and the two of us being paid on a teacher's salary. That wasn't going to work.
Sarah
And just like me, should they not have figured that out before she went for a $118,000 Ivy League college degree? And here's the thing, folks. It's sad, but here's the harsh truth. The person who goes to the state school, and they have solid education. I went to the University of South Florida, okay, in state schools, solid. My professors were outstanding, all right? But the person who goes there is going to be paid the same amount, have the same opportunities in the career to bounce around, go to different schools, go to administration positions, whatever they want. They're not going to be looked at any better or worse than the person who goes to an Ivy League school and comes out with a $118,000 degree. You're going for social work, you're going for public service, anything that deals with public service. You say, I want to be a police officer, firefighter, school teacher, medical, whatever. Anything that deals with public service does not require an Ivy League degree. The reason she got that Ivy League degree was for the same reasons I went and got a second master's. She really wanted to hone her craft. She wanted to be the best. But unfortunately, she and her husband should have sat down, all right, and done the math as to what the debt was going to be. And the sad part is a lot of students, and I'm guilty of this because I did this. I actually asked, well, how much is my monthly payment going to be? All right. You got to keep in mind, this is like in 2004. And I believe they said something like, oh, well, easy, it'll be like $200 a month, whatever. And I was married at the time. Well, that's $100 each. Easy peasy, right? But what you fail to ask is what's the overall balance going to be? How many years is it going to take me to pay this off? That's what we don't ask. It's the same fault we make when we go buy a car. People want to know. Well, I don't make that mistake anymore because I learned the hard way. But people want to know how much is the monthly car payment going to be? They don't ask what is the monthly interest? How many years, months is it going to take me to pay it off? We ask the wrong questions. She and her husband should have sat down, done the math about an Ivy League Columbia education. And I'm not going to get harder on her about this because I've made my mistakes too. She should have known you don't need an Ivy League degree to do social work. But it was a pride thing she had. I think a lot of us, unfortunately, we get into these big loan debts because we have pride. We have a desire to go, you know what? This is a dream. I've always wanted to do this, and nothing's going to take it from me. Our pride gets in the way of our finances. Our pride is what causes us to get into debt that we cannot get out of. So it's something to think about when you take on a student loan. How much of it is pride? It's the pride of going to that school, all right, leaving home, whatever it is your goal is, and how much of it is really necessary to get the education so you can get the job. She could have gone to a state school, $40,000 and she'd be done.
quit teaching for a job in consulting so she could afford the $440 payments on her loans every month.
Okay. So, oh, family. Where's my fan? Where's my pink fan? Oh, family, I tell you. So, she goes and gets her $118,000 degree from Columbia to do social work. And what does she do, family? What does she do? She leaves it. She leaves the job because she can't afford the $400 a month. It's not paying enough. This is where we go wrong in student loans. I mean, we go wrong in a lot of places, but this is where we really, really go wrong. She's not even doing now what she set out to do. Hey, I just got my $118,000 degree from Columbia. Oh, you know what? I'm so broke now. I can't even pay the monthly $400 bill. I think she should have probably just stayed in the job because assuming she's in public service, all right? And keep in mind, private schools don't necessarily count for public service. I'm not going to say private school never counts for public service loan forgiveness, but typically they do not because they are private and they are for profit. So just something to keep in mind. So she's left the job after she gets this degree. Holy cow.
The interest is 7.65.
It's a pretty high interest rate.
But at a nearly 8% interest rate, her $118,000 balance ballooned to $180,000.
Okay, everybody freeze. That was Mohila. This was 7 months ago. So this is very current. All right. She and her husband, they're in the on-ramp stage for the student loan, meaning they don't have to pay anything right now. Did you see that was Mohila on her screen? I'm not going to back it up, but Mohila, it's now 180,000. What have I told you, family? What have I told you about trying to budget student loan debt? Okay. When for approximately every $1,000, excuse me, for every 100,000, okay, she should estimate 1,000, but she's probably going on income base. She was a teacher, so she's knocking it down to 400, which makes sense because my bill was 110 and I paid right around 350, 375 respectively. But what do we know about income-based family? What have I taught you here on consumer debt Chit-Chat? Do we ever pay it off? No, the bill never gets paid off. The bill stays. There is no way she can make $400 a month payments on a $180,000 student loan. It has ballooned. Wow.
It was obviously not the smartest decision, right? Like I could have made another decision. It's terrible. It's a huge number that we have to deal with. We have to think of and we have to budget for every day, and we have to budget for the future consequences of this loan every single day. It's the thing that I am probably the most ashamed of in my life.
If you're thinking of going to school and you're thinking of taking on student loan debt that you cannot afford, I want you to consider this. When I had my student loan debt until it was forgiven in 2022, everything you do will be based around your student loan. And family, when I tell you everything, how much you can spend on vacation, how often you can go on vacation, where can you go on vacation, how much housing can you have, how much car can you have, how much food can you buy that month, what can your kids have? I don't have kids, but I have friends who have kids that have student loan debt. Okay, what can your kids afford? How much can you buy for Christmas presents? Can you even throw your siblings $25 by Venmo and tell them to go have a nice lunch? Okay, I can do that now that I'm debt free. Yeah, I can just toss one of my siblings $25 and I'll say, hey, go have lunch. I don't know if $25 gets you lunch anymore, but hey, I'm trying, right? Everything you do when you have student loans, it all surrounds it. And even if the student loan isn't in the forefront, it's in the background of all the decisions that you make. I lived with this for 16 years. It will follow you through marriage, divorce, you name it. That student loan, you want to talk ball and chain in bad relationships, the student loan is it. Everything you do. And when people go, how come student loans stick around for so long? Well, it's because of the fact that it becomes a permanent part of your life. It becomes so attached to you. Okay. I mean, it almost takes priority over your spouse, not literally, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay. It becomes so much a part of you that when my student loan finally got forgiven, I literally remember going, this is the first day I have woken up without student loans in 16 years. This is the first time I've driven to work without a student loan in 16 years. That's how much of a part of you it is. And it gets to the point because we tend to excuse student loan debt. That kind of, what is it? We've all heard it. Well, that's the good debt. I did a video ages ago, probably like over 2 years ago, talking about the lies of student loan is a good debt. And you'll hear people say, well, student loan, that's the good debt. That's the debt you want. Hell no. You can't go bankrupt on it. I could start a business and go bankrupt. I can buy too much car, go bankrupt, too much house, go bankrupt. Okay. You can't do that with the student loan. So as I got older and I got wiser, I started going, how is a student loan the good debt? It's not. It's the worst debt you can have, right? The only one ahead of it is the IRS. That's the only one that's ahead of it.
Sarah is one of 28 million borrowers once again on the hook for paying off their loans, ending a pause that began in 2020 when the pandemic hit.
To help our students and their families, I've waived interest on all student loans held by federal government agencies, and that will be until further notice.
In an unprecedented effort to give borrowers financial relief, the Trump administration paused payments on federal student loans and froze interest rates at 0%.
Oh, that was so close.
For Sarah, it was a rare opportunity to save for her daughter's college education.
All right, we're going to stop here. First off, I think I see a comment. By the way, guys, I am really new to streaming. So if for some reason I accidentally knock off the stream, I'll just log back in. So just gonna tell you that right now. We all have to learn some way, right? So I just kind of let you know. And I've got my second computer up here, but it's not up and running yet. My second monitor. All right. So it says here, oh, I recognize this name from Home with Love. Hello, hello. It says here, and again, my streams are meant to be casual, so I hope that's all right with people. She writes, I was a special education teacher and now I'm a special needs mom. The smartest thing I ever did was I need my reading glasses, was not finish my master's degree once the district stopped tuition reimbursement. Snap, snap, snaps, confetti, pretend confetti. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with exactly what you did. 110%. And see, and here's the thing, for those of you that may not be in education, all right, you may not be in education. One of the things and I didn't realize it till after I'd already entered, the district will pay for classes up to a certain point. Okay. This is why I technically didn't need my master's degree, but here, Home with Love. Okay. Yeah, when the district, excuse me, here in Tampa, they stopped paying us for the classes. They used to pay us to go take extra classes and stuff. They stopped. So yeah, I don't blame you for stopping. I do the exact same thing. And it's sad because, we ask the general public to, put trust in teachers and stuff. But yet, like I said at the beginning of this stream, you have people who literally go, well, if a teacher can't afford to go get their education, then, they just shouldn't go and get the master's degree. So think about your kids and your grandkids. How much education do you want those teachers to have? I absolutely agree with you on that. She says here, I'm going to back this up for just a second because there's a comment I want to make here. Trump. Now, again, this is not about politics, all right? Because I don't take a side when it comes to, if you've watched this channel, I'm a moderate Democrat, okay? So love me, hate me, accept it, okay? Here's the thing. Regardless of how you feel about Trump, there is one thing I have to admit. He saved my ass when it came to pausing the student loans. He really did. And this is why I say, we can't look at debt, whether it's student loans, whatever's going in the economy, okay? Because of what he actually did. I'm just saying, I'm giving you the facts, family. I'm giving you the facts, okay? Because of what he actually did by stopping the student loan payments, it was one of the biggest boosts I had to getting out of debt. Yeah. I was able to take that and I was able to run with it because he stopped it because things were difficult. All right. And top it off, I had just purchased a condo. So here I'm nervous like everybody else. Are we going to lose jobs? Are schools going to shut down? COVID's going on. What's happening? And he stopped it. And as you know, guys, it's been stopped for ages and it's only starting this fourth quarter. Okay. I believe the month is actually October. The on ramp ends, and people, you got to remember, they're going to start reporting late payments, overdrafts, and all of that stuff. They're going to start reporting in October. And of course, on this channel, I'll keep you posted about that. So if I'm correct, I want to back this up for a second because I believe this is the part, if I'm correct, they talk about funding their daughter's education. And I have a problem with this, and I'll tell you why in just a second.
At 0%.
Yeah. Oh, that was so close.
For Sarah, it was a rare opportunity to save for her daughter's college education.
I disagree with them doing this. Now, again, these are just my thoughts. Here's why I disagree with them saving for their daughter's education. Kind of like when you're on an airplane and they say to you, put your yellow oxygen mask on first and then save your child. Well, these people did it reverse. They're funding their child's college education, which isn't going to be for a few decades down the road. Meanwhile, they owe $180,000 themselves in student debt. How does this help your family any? When the moratorium on student loans came, the interest dropped down to zero. Here's what I would have done. Now, let me know in the comments, guys, if you agree or disagree. All right. And of course, you're free to express yourself. Okay. I would have looked at my spouse and I'd gone, honey, we need to pay off the debt. We have the chance at 0%. We owe $180,000. Our family will benefit if we can get ourselves out of this debt. And I'm telling you, if I had been them, I would have worky. After all, she just quit her supposed love job of special needs. And I believe she really did love that job because she went to an Ivy League school to get the degree. Okay. But they didn't do that. They didn't save themselves. And I'm not a parent, so I have to admit I'm one step probably emotionally removed. But damn, if I have 0% interest, I have $180,000 student loan. We need, as the two adults, they should have saved themselves, in my opinion, first, and then gone on to save their children. And here's the bottom line, folks, that we need to remember. Not all parents are in a financial position to fund their child's college education. And while it would be great for all parents to say, here, honey, here's $25,000, or now you're going to probably need at least 100 grand. Okay. Here's money for your college education. Not all parents can do that. But the children have time. They have years to pay it off. Now, hopefully they won't be in the position like we see our millennials in. Okay. But the bottom line is, if I had been the parents, I would have paid the debt off. Okay. Let me see what else is on here. Home with Love, HWL. I love your handle, by the way. You're so right, Carrie. Guys, I got to get my reading glasses. Hold on. You know what, guys? Everybody's going to hold on. Hey, it's a live stream. I need my reading glasses. Just sit tight. Holy cow, I can read. Okay. All right, family. We're all back. Okay. This is from Home with Love. You're so right, Carrie. Many schools make it seem like many schools make it seem like to be a good teacher, you need the master's degree. Yeah. Yeah, you don't need a master's degree. And by the way, teaching is going more and more AI. Anybody who thinks that teaching cannot go AI, artificial intelligence, whoo, there are some great things about, I'm not sure if they officially call it AI, but there are programs now that do things that really help out a teacher a lot, because there are some things we just can't do. One teacher in a classroom can't do it. And the purpose of the stream isn't to discuss that, but the bottom line is AI is slowly working its way into the classroom. But what did the pandemic teach us, family? What did the pandemic teach us? We still need teachers. Students, in my opinion, still learn best when there's an actual person in front of them. Let's see. I see another comment. Who is that? Hi, Mr. D. Hi. Nice to see you. All right. So I think we're all in conclusion. The few handful of us that are here, and I appreciate you guys being here. I figure if you have nothing else to do on a Saturday night, right? Thanks for joining me.
My husband and I sat down, and with us both on a payment pause, it's like, let's put whatever we can towards our daughter's 529s. Having both been through this situation that we want to so strongly avoid for them, we were able to save more towards their college education.
The
I want to hit my head against the wall. I think we already covered it, but I want to hit my head against the wall. They need to save themselves. The airplane is crashing. The yellow oxygen masks have dropped. Just something to think about, right? And I understand, again, I'm not a parent, but I can empathize. I think that's the word, empathize. I can empathize with a parent wanting to go, hey, I really want to save my kid. You know how you save your kid? You model good behaviors. You model good money management skills. Honey, we have less for you for college because we had to get ourselves out of debt with our student loan. But by getting ourselves out of debt, we've assured you a home, food, transportation. We could probably even help set you up in your first apartment. Isn't that more valuable than raising kids? And look at how high this debt's going to climb. This was only 7 months ago, family. This is recent.
pause endured for more than 3 years through 8 extensions, finally ending October 1st.
Are there areas in your budget that will change now that you will be making those payments again toward your loans?
Yeah, certainly. It's just a tightening of the belt across all areas. You need to live in a house, you need to pay groceries, you need to eat. And then from there on, you kind of have to figure out where to skimp and save.
They should have paid off that freaking loan or at least cut that bill in half over 3 years. Do you guys remember, for those of you in the audience, family, that had student loans? Okay, if you had student loans during the pandemic, all right, would anyone have guessed in 2020? And I remember the year so well because it was the same year I bought my condo. So it's 2020. Okay, specifically, I want to say about March because we did fourth quarter starting with Zoom. Who would have ever imagined that it would still technically be going on 4 years later? So we've had basically all of 2020, 21, 22, 20. Who would have ever guessed at that point that 4 years later, even though now we charge interest, but who would have ever guessed that, oh my God, we're still not obligated to pay the student loan bill? And speaking of that, you know who I'm most worried about when the student loan starts up? It's the students who have never paid. Family, think about it. The students who graduated in 2020, 21, 22, and 23. You have 4 years of students that have never made a student loan bill. You have 4 years of students that have heard, okay, by the rumor and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube. You have students that have heard that student loans are hard to pay back. They've heard that it can be a real ball and chain. They've heard that they might have to adjust their lifestyle, but they've never had to actually do it yet. Even with the on ramp, they actually don't have to pay. Yeah, they're getting charged interest, but they don't have to pay. So think about this. They're going to have it the worst. The students that have yet to have to pay a single bill, because think about your life 4 years after college. Were you kind of getting settled in your life 4 years after college? You were kind of getting settled with, this is my food budget, this is my electric budget, this is my housing, my car. Now, imagine you're sitting on $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 student loan. Heck, this family's got $180,000, okay, in the video. Imagine you're sitting on that. You've never actually had to pay it yet, but yet you've established your lifestyle as if you didn't have a student loan. Now, I will say there are probably a handful, and I'm going to bet it's only a handful, okay, of students out there that have already reserved the money for student loan payback. In fact, they probably haven't even just reserved the money. They're probably the same students that have been paying it the entire time the moratorium's been on. Not every student, although I think I read once, it was less than, don't quote me on this. I want to say I read once it was like less than 10% of students nationwide actually made payments during the moratorium. I mean, who would? Who would want to, right? But there is that handful of students that said, hey, you know what? We're at 0% interest. We're going to book it. And they did. But guys, think about this. Starting this fall, you have 4 years of students that have never paid. Yeah, they know their student loan bill exists. Yeah, they know they need to come up with, anywhere from, let's say, $200, $800 a month, but they've never had to actually implement it yet. They've built relationships and everything around as if they didn't have a student loan. Those are the people, mark my words, who are going to have it the roughest.
I think for most student loan borrowers, what it means is that they got to make some hard choices.
Economist Mark Zandi says restarting payments will create headwinds for the American economy.
It was very helpful in the time. Obviously, we got to move on now, and that is not comfortable. That's painful, and that's the process we're engaged in at the current time.
He says the average payment of $200 to $300 a month will force borrowers to tighten their budgets.
And as we're thinking of that $200 to $300 a month, let's not forget, family, many people are going on income-based. And we know income-based will not pay it off. My $110,000 student loan on income-based was $365 a month. Do not breathe a big old sigh of relief because you get income-based. And it's not for discussion on today's video. I mean, feel free to discuss anything you want in the comments. That I don't mind. But as far as for me, the SAVE plan, saving on a valuable education, you've got people thinking that that's the God's answer to the student loan debt problem. No, it's one more tool to help students pay back the loan, but you have to be very careful because just like a credit card, even under the SAVE plan, okay, interest can still accrue. And very much like a credit card, in case you don't know this, with a lot of the SAVE student loan programs, if you miss a payment, there can be a huge penalty. They can take you off the special program, change it all up. You got to think of student loans as no more than credit card bills. I always say, think of it as student loans as a credit card bill that just looks pretty, but they are, in essence, the exact same thing. They're just as evil.
Already stretched by rising interest rates and inflation.
If you consider the higher inflation of the past couple of years, the typical American household is now spending $750 more a month to buy the same goods and services they were just because of the higher inflation.
So when
I love to support small business. Okay. I absolutely love supporting small business, but damn, I can't afford to support small business. Instead of going to, what is that? Culver's. I really like Culver's hamburger place. It's a place here in Tampa. I really like Culver's hamburgers, but I thought, instead of going for Culver's hamburgers, which is a big chain, why not try to support a little mom and pop place? I kid you not, today I thought, okay, this was today, a couple hours ago. I said, let's go ahead and go to a ramen noodle place that seems pretty good. I walked in, and here's a tasteful way. Family, if you ever want to know how to scan the prices of a menu without embarrassing yourself and going, oh my God, I can't afford this. What I always do is I go in, I'll say, do you have a to-go menu I could take with me? That's a way I could check out a menu if it's not already posted in the window or something, so I don't embarrass myself. Walk in, sit down, have them hand me the menu, and I go, I can't afford this. Thank you very much. Just always go in and ask them, hey, do you have a to-go menu? And also you can look online too, but not all restaurants have a full menu online. So I walked in today, did my typical to-go menu, went back to my car, and I thought, okay, $8, $9 at the most for a bowl of ramen noodle soup. Wouldn't you know, family, that soup bowl started at $14.95 and went up to, I think it was $19. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, a bowl of ramen noodle soup. And I ain't asking for seafood because I don't really like seafood. So I ain't asking for no squid and seaweed and all of that stuff in it. I just wanted, give me a simple bowl of ramen noodle soup and I don't know, maybe a hard boiled egg in it. All right. It started at $14.95. So I'm sitting there in the car, okay, today doing the math, and I'm going, Carrie, do you have $17 for a bowl of ramen noodle soup? Hell no, I don't have $17. And then, of course, I think to myself, if I took my significant other and we both went to this ramen noodle soup place, and it was cozy and cute inside. You know, nice little place. Okay, mom and pop, and we both had a bowl of soup. Christ, we would walk out with a bill that would be $30 for the soup, some more money for tax. I always leave a tip because I think it's tacky not to. So we'd walk out with nothing less than 35, 37 bucks for 2 bowls of soup. This is the problem with the economy, folks. This is the problem with the economy. This stuff is too expensive.
When you add an average student loan payment of between $200 and $300 onto that, that adds up.
They're now shelling out $1,000 more plus each month to kind of just do what they had been doing.
And remember, the people who have not yet even started their student loan payment, they've already established a lifestyle. 3 to 4 years without student loan payments is enough time. It's more than enough time for young people to start establishing their lifestyle. You got to remember, okay, these are young college graduates. I'm not really talking about the people who went for their masters and stuff because they've already done the graduation game. I'm really looking at the young people who just graduated each of those years, 20, 21, 22, 23, and they've never paid on a student loan yet. It's going to be a shock. It's going to be an utter shock. So especially if they're holding high amounts of debt.
These numbers are pretty significant.
Having to resume payments will force borrowers like first-generation college graduate Michael Lopez in Anaheim, California, to make compromises.
That's a really big chunk, of our spending every month that would go towards that.
The 33-year-old's goal of becoming a social worker led him to pursue a master's degree after a degree in sociology at a state school. He now owes $240,000 in student debt.
Time. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. He owes $240,000 to be a social worker. The minute I heard, family, there are certain words we just don't put together. Any public service work, a master's degree, okay? The minute you hear, anything to do with public service and a master's degree, right then and there, okay? It's going to crash and burn. It just is. $240,000. Now, again, this video was 7 months ago, so I'm going to assume that this was probably a bachelor's, like this is multiple degrees wrapped together. Oh, people, this is painful.
An astronomical number. The only time I've seen a bigger number than that was when we bought our house.
His monthly.
How many times, family, have you heard me say on this channel, for many of us that have student loan debt, really, you just purchased a piece of property. My student loan debt was $110,000. My condo behind me here, okay, was $100,000. My freaking student loan was more than my condo. You're purchasing a piece of property. And you've also heard me say, this is why when Dave Ramsey says things like, oh, you'll pay it off in 2-3 years. If you can't pay off let's just take this guy. He just bought himself a $240,000 piece of property. Really, he just bought a sociology degree, master's. Okay. If he could not sign up for that house and pay it off in 36 payments, there's no way he can pay off a student loan in 36 payments. Dollars are dollars, regardless whether it's going to a student loan or whether it's actually going to a piece of property.
Bill, nearly $800.
We all deserve, and not seeing a bigger number than that was when we bought our house.
His monthly bill, nearly $800.
We all deserve an opportunity for education. And
oh, I don't know if From Home with Love is still online, but if you are, I know you're feeling this with me because we both are in education. Oh, yeah, we all deserve an opportunity for education, but we don't all need an opportunity to get screwed over by our own decisions. Oh, geez. $800 a month, family. I know people whose mortgage is $800. Their mortgage, a house in Tampa with a full backyard, 3 bedrooms, dual car garage. Okay. Their mortgage is $900.
however I had to make that happen, I was going to make it happen.
And okay, hold up. I'm going to replay this for you. Hold on. There's a reason.
That was when we bought our house.
His monthly bill, nearly $800.
We all deserve an opportunity for education. And however I had to make that happen, I was going to make it happen.
And that, family, right there, I would like to take that quote and stick it on a big billboard. However I'm going to make that happen, I will. That's what sinks us. That's what sinks us financially when it comes to deciding what school we're going to go to. Well, I'm going to go. Let's refer to the lady at the beginning of the video. Well, I'm going to go to Columbia University. All right, and I'm going to go there so I can get my special ed master's degree. It's my dream to go there, and by God, I'm going to go there. Now she doesn't even work in the field anymore because she can't afford it. Although I think she should have stayed, worked 10 years, and then gotten it forgiven. He's going, hey, this $240,000 degree to be a social worker. Again, please keep in mind, people, I'm not slamming the field. Heck, I teach middle school. I'm not slamming my field. I love my field. Third generation, proud to follow my parents, but dang it all anyway, if we aren't doing some stupid things that keeps us from really enjoying our field, from really enjoying our major. So his attitude is, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Well, this is when we sink ourselves financially. We have to understand that, if we raise our kids, and again, I'm not a parent, so, forgive me. All right. If I have a child and I say to the kid, I'm a teacher, so I guess I could tell a student, you have to do whatever it takes to make it happen. But if what it takes sinks you financially, if it hurts you financially, if it hurts the ones you love financially, is that really a good move to make? Is it really a good attitude to have? He wants to be a social worker. I guarantee it to you, he could have gone somewhere local and done the same thing. Okay, let's see here and look at, oh, good. Home with Love is here. And look, I can see because I have my glasses on. Home with Love writes, and I'm reading these out loud because some people don't watch the screen when they're listening. Some people I know exercise to this. So Home with Love writes, there are more affordable ways to get an education. Pride stops people from going to community college. Yes, you are right. Pride. We don't look at community college as fancy, but darn it all anyways, when those community college people graduate with an associate's degree and it costs them $10,000, and then off they go to an in-state school for 2 years, and then you've got the people who go to the private colleges, the out-of-state colleges, and when that's Alexa, she'll be done in just a minute. And then they're going to the out-of-state colleges, and they wind up with an $80,000 degree. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So she writes, pride stops people from going to community college and then a state school. It's not as prestigious. Yeah. And you know what, folks? I can't throw stones because I was the same way when I was graduating from high school. It's amazing how we're so myopic. We look at things so narrowly when we're a kid. I remember thinking to myself, I didn't want to go to the community college either. Well, God taught me some lessons in life that squared my ass straight. Yeah. And now as a teacher, I'm telling people, go to community college. I mean, yes, if you can afford a 4-year school and you have the parental support or you were given some big inheritance to take you through school and you can do it without hurting yourself, by all means, then go to the 4-year school. But if you can't do it, there's no shame. As a matter of fact, I think today the people who are going to community college, they're the smart ones. They're the smart ones, folks. Okay, so Parlor writes, amen. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Is that Mr. D? Mr. D's here. Computer work as I listen. Thanks for speaking up. Yes. So, hi, Mr. D. Nice to see you as always. Oh, and Parlor, is that Parlor? That Parlor, my one member. Thank you, Parlor. And you are not allowed to be a member at 99 cents on my channel if you have debt or student loan goals that you are trying to pay off, because, well, as you know, I do this for love. Okay, I do this for love. So, but thank you, Parlor. I appreciate your support. I appreciate all of your support. Okay, so so let's back this up about 2 seconds.
Education, and however I had to make that happen, I was going to make it happen.
Did you ever consider a career where you could make more money, easily pay off those debts?
Actually, no. This is just too meaningful to me. It's kind of, I feel like it was what I was designed to do, was to help people. And so, yeah, I'm proud of it. And it's exactly where I want to be.
Teaching is exactly where I want to be. Home with Love, special needs, it's most likely where Home with Love wants to be. You will find that people who work in education, the ones that are really loyal and dedicated to it. Yeah, there's some people who treat education like it's a fast food job. They'll just do it till something else comes along. But I luckily, my professional experience, that's not the majority of people. Okay, that might be a very, very small handful. The 99% of the people, okay, that I've met in education, we do it because really it's like we were born for it. We were born for it, but unfortunately, that is also what hurts us when we decide on whether or not to pursue higher education. You will notice that when it comes to education, public service jobs, it's not the bachelor's degree that's getting people in trouble, it's the master's degree. Now, why might it be the master's degree that's, and again, for public service work? Okay, because that's what this video focuses on, to public service employees. Why is it that the master's degree is the one that typically gets us in trouble? Well, unlike when we get bachelor degrees, for the most part, okay, we don't yet have a house and kids and a spouse. We don't have prior student loan bills that we're still paying off. And in fact, the bachelor's degree may even be totally covered. But by the time we go for a master's degree, a lot of those other obligations have already started to creep in. And now we're getting a master's degree. And of course, a master's degree, for the most part, is more expensive. We may also be more limited as to the school we can go to. Perhaps for a bachelor's, we could move more easily around the state to go to a school that was better. Okay, that could still meet our needs. But once you're married, you got kids and all that, it may not be convenient for you to go get that degree, 200 miles away in your state. Just things to think about as to why it is that and it's statistically true. Don't ask me to quote the number because I can't remember, but it is statistically true that most of the $100,000 student loan bills and up are held by graduate students. They're not held typically by the bachelors. So yeah, stuff we got to be careful of. Let's see here. Mr. D, please consider putting your Cash App name in the description for donations. At least that is for contribution channels. I don't accept donations for this. My rule is I just, you guys being here, participating, subscribing, yada yada. That's more than enough for me. I really appreciate it. I do. Seriously, Mr. D. I appreciate it. I appreciate the thought. Okay. We are here about consumer debt. I'm not here to be a consumer debt to anyone. So just, hop on, participate like you already do. I recognize these names. Okay. That's more than enough for me. That is more than enough. And I appreciate the thought and the generosity. And I mean it. All right. So anyways, yeah, we need to actually stop with the attitude of anything we can possibly do to get this education, even if it's going to sink us. And family, what do I say on the shows? Was this debt avoidable? Was his $240,000 debt avoidable? I mean, look at the poor dude. He looks tired. This is what a $240,000 student loan debt will do for you. He looks tired.
Even if you have $200,000 plus in debt hanging over your head.
Yeah.
Michael,
what she was asking was, is this worth it? Was this worth the $240,000 debt? He says yes. Now, I'm going to say I disagree with his answer. And here's why I disagree. If I look at my experience with my $110,000 student loan, yeah, I loved my professors. My professors are outstanding. Probably some of the best people I've ever met, especially 3 of them. And everything that they taught me made me a better person. That is not what I'm judging. And I think most of us who have gone to school to get a master's degree, you'll hear them say over and over again, oh, but I don't regret the education. Nobody regrets the education because we thirst for knowledge. Heck, we're in industries that help people. All right. But what we regret, and at Home with Love, I wish I had been as smart as you. Okay. I'm say she, I think at Home with Love. Yeah, guys, if I accidentally call you by the wrong pronoun, just forgive me, okay? You can correct me if you wish. Just forgive me, okay? It's what I think people are, okay? But what she wrote was that when the district stopped paying for those basically it's like supplementary learning, when the district stopped paying for it, she stopped going. That's the way we're supposed to do it. We're not supposed to just say, well, the district's not paying for it anymore. And by God, I'm going to go rack up another $100,000 because nothing is going to stop me. That's how you get into the position this dude's in. And I kind of got myself into. He doesn't regret the education. None of us do. But there is a deep regret. Just like the first lady said in the video, the lady that went to Columbia at the beginning of this video. And I think they'll bring her back in just a minute. She went to Columbia at the beginning of the video, $118,000. Yeah, she admits it. Yeah, you regret the debt. You regret it deeply. And that's the hard part. And that's the part that sucks because we're all supposed to be educators, or, if you're not a teacher, you're out there doing some social public good or whatever industry in. Heck, you guys, it doesn't even have to be public service. It could be any industry. Okay. Yeah. You regret that that's what you had to do to get there. And what is that business term? One of you guys in the audience told it to me years ago and I've long forgotten it, but it's when you invest so much in something that you no longer can see the faults, the wrongs that you've done in that investment. You instead just kind of blanket it and say, oh yeah, it was totally worth it, even though it was a very poor move. And no, it was not worth it.
Michael says the payment pause opened up the opportunity for another major first in his family.
I ask myself a lot of times, whether or not it's a dream.
I did not get this far. Oh, don't. Family, put in the comments what you think he just did. What do you think this guy just did? Oh, put it in the comments. Put it in this comments. Oh, let's see. The Home with Love. Yes, I'm a woman and fully, I had an awesome mentor teacher. Yeah, you do. And she's the one that told me to think carefully before for taking on more student loans. She already had 32,000 from undergraduate. Yeah. Wow. I wish my mentor had discussed student loan debt with me. Yes. Sunken fallacy. Sweet Jesus. I knew somebody would know. Thank you. Sunken fallacy. Sunken fallacy is a managerial term. Okay. I knew there was a term. I just couldn't think of it. Mwah. Hearts, love, hugs, and all of that stuff for telling me. Sunken fallacy is where a person makes a decision, moves forward in doing something. And even though it's proving, okay, to be a really bad choice, they keep doing it and they keep doing it. What was that? Oh, guys, do you remember? Maybe it was a year or two ago. It was that submarine that guy did. And everybody kept saying, this submarine of yours, Ocean Gate, I think it was. Everybody kept saying, this submarine is not set to go down the depths of the Titanic. And it imploded, not exploded, which is outward. It imploded, basically squeezed in on itself, right? That was a perfect example, in my opinion, of sunken fallacy. Everybody kept, I want to say it's Ocean Gate. I could be wrong. Everybody kept telling the dude, the billionaire, remember that story, family? About a year and a half, time flies, okay? Everybody kept saying, look, this submarine, the windows aren't good, the metal creaks when we go down, yada, yada. But he kept doing it because he had it in his mind. Just like the guy in this video. Okay, just like this dude in the video with $240,000 student loan debt. He sits and he goes, oh, but I have to do it no matter the cost. Well, that's how you sink yourself. That's how your submarine explodes when you go down too far. What does he do here? Oh my gosh, let's see what he does.
Being able to take advantage of record low mortgage rates in 2020 and buy a home.
Do we have words? Now, I know he's probably today, again, this is just 7 months ago, okay? I know today he's probably going, thank God I bought that house because look at what that house is valued at now. Yeah, but look at what the student loan is right now. What is his student loan? The guy is looking at $500,000 of debt. Talk about sunken fallacy. Hold on. I'm going to write that word down. Thank you to Home with Love. I appreciate that. Sunken fallacy. I swear to God, I'm going to tape it up here because I keep trying to refer to it and I always forget it. So thanks. I appreciate you. Oh God, let's see. So he buys a house during the moratorium, instead of going, hey, I have $240,000 worth of student loan debt, let's just start worky and pay it off while it's 0%. He goes, hey, I think we should go ahead and buy a house.
Like, I don't know if we'll ever own a home. And the fact that we were able to do that because of the pause was just like, I mean, mind blowing.
The thing is they weren't able to do it. They could not do it. See, family, something I've learned having my own debt, we like to sit at times and say, oh, well, we were able to do this. Yeah, only if you ignore the debt you're already sitting on. If you ignore the fact that you have a $240,000 student loan, you can go out and buy yourself a couple $100,000 house. Looks like a cute house. That'd be about, if I were going to buy a house, that'd be like the type of house I would buy, something like that. But he's $500,000 in debt. See, it's hard to sit and go, I'm getting myself into a $500,000 worth of debt. It's easier to go, hey, you know what? I need this purchase right now. Because if I don't buy this right now, then I may lose the opportunity to do it later. And it feels better. Doesn't it feel better, family, to buy a house than it does to pay off your student loan debt? Doesn't it feel better? I would rather purchase a house than pay off my student loan debt. I'd rather purchase a car than pay off my student loan debt. Go on vacation than pay off my student loan debt. But something I'm learning as I get older? Yes, and I'll be 57 in July. If you can't mouth the words $500,000 or $200,000, if you can't lay it out, look at it on paper, and really get into Zen or so-called one with it, then you're in denial about it. And let's face it, family, we've all been there. And if you've followed this channel, I've had my couple bankruptcies, okay? And through them, yeah, I couldn't look at the bill. This guy can't really face his student loan. He'll say he can, just like he said, oh yeah, it was worth $240,000. Then if it was worth $240,000 to go into debt for this sociology type degree, then why didn't he pay it off? Why didn't he pay it off first if he was so passionate about it? He says it was so worth it to go into this degree. Then it should have been so worth it to pay it off first. Because in reality, he's going, no, this wasn't worth the money. I'm a public employee, so I'd rather go out and buy a house. They're actually over. They'd be over $500,000 in debt.
And now he and his wife have their first baby on the way.
I need my fan. I need my Pepsi. Family, do we see how we get ourselves deeper and deeper into debt? And no, I'm not blaming baby. I will never, I never blame the kids. We can look at the parents, but I will never blame the kids. The kids are not at fault ever. Okay, so when I refer to kids and stuff like that, I think hopefully you're all kind of aware of that. But do we see how we sink ourselves? Now imagine if during the 3-year pause, he had worky to pay off that $240,000 loan. And chances are he wasn't going to pay off $240,000, but maybe he could have cut it in half. Again, there was no interest, zero interest. He didn't have a kid. All right, let's think about it here. He didn't have a child. He might have had a spouse. How about he and his spouse both go, you know what? We are working 60, 70 hours a week. We're going to have to haul that for a couple of years. So when we bring in a kid, this debt is down to, I don't know, 150,000 or less, maybe 100,000 or less, right? Because I think realistically, you're not going to pay off, $250,000 in 3 years. I don't see that. But realistically, he's married, from what I gather. Okay. They could pay off a huge chunk of it. But he didn't do that. He said, hey, let's get further into debt. How on earth do you expect to get out of debt when you're getting yourself further into debt? Something to think about, right? Hey, we're already in student loan debt. Let's go buy a house and get debt. Now let's go have a kid and get that debt on too. Again, I'm not blaming the child. Let's look at comments here. Mr. D. Okay, I've read that. From Home with Love. I love that name. There's something about Home with Love that just sounds reassuring. Yes, I'm a woman. Okay, I read that. Okay. I appreciate your channel. My husband and friends don't nerd out over the type of thing. So I come here for us. Hey, you know what? I understand. I understand. All right. I'm a member of Nordic Wear Fanatics cake group because I like to make bundt cakes. And no one quite understands that, but the Nordic Wear Fanatics group on Facebook does. I get you. I get you.
But fulfilling that American dream came at a cost.
Some might say, well, now you've taken on even more debt and you still have to pay your student loans back. Was that really a smart financial decision?
I think so.
Did we expect anything else, family? Did we expect to hear anything else? Do you notice every dumb decision he says is a smart decision? Was it a good decision that you took out $240,000 for basically a public service degree? Yeah, it was worth it. Do you think it was a good decision for you to go and buy a 250,000 or whatever that house is worth, even though you have on all this debt? Yeah, I think that was worth it. You think it was a good idea to bring another kid to this world? Not blaming the kid, but the cost and the care of the kid. Yeah, I think that was worth it. Sunken fallacy. I swear, I'm going to write that on my computer so I will not forget.
We're quickly building a lot of equity in the home, and that's a long-term investment for us as well, and for our kids.
Michael?
Okay, let's stop here. You're building long-term equity in the home. What's that going to do to your property taxes, though? The more your equity, the more your property taxes. The more your equity, the more your property taxes, the more your insurance. We can go on and on and on. Just a thought. So in his sunken fallacy mind, I'm sorry, you guys, I just had to say that. So in his mind, it makes total sense to purchase a piece of property that he's hoping is going to get him out of student loan debt. And from what I understand about property, and I'm no property expert, isn't a property really only an asset if you're going to sell the sucker? I mean, just something to think about. If you're not going to sell it and you're going to live in it, he says this is going to be an advantage to his kids. How? Unless he's planning on passing away soon and giving them the inheritance. And I don't think at 33. Guys, remember, he's 33. Okay. With $500,000 in debt between the house and the student loan. And it's almost an even split of each. 33 years old. Yeah, you could, I should have taken my ass to that ramen noodle place today because I could afford the $14 suit. I choose not to afford it. I can't afford it. I choose not to. But every bad decision he justifies in his mind as a good decision. This is something that people with consumer debt do. It's something that people like me who used to be shopaholics did. Oh my God, you guys, I could justify anything. Give it to me. I could justify why I needed it or wanted it. Let's take a look at the comments. Okay. Let's see. Question. By Home with Love. I know you bought your condo when you still had student loan debt. Yes, I did. But your scenario is different. Yes, from this guy's because you knew you were on track for PSLF. You are absolutely correct, Home with Love. You are absolutely correct. I knew that PSLF, public service loan forgiveness, was about 7 years away. Now, the pandemic just bumped it up way sooner. I got it done 4 years earlier, approximately 3 to 4 years earlier. But I knew I was already on track for it. I already had a number count. It was estimated that I had about 4 to 7 years left. So I was like, cool. All right. It took me 16 years, family, to get the forgiveness, which is just another whole story in itself. I have a big middle finger I'd like to give to Fed Loan personally. Okay. I'm sure there's got lots of company. There's lots of company. And Mohila ain't doing much better. And we may be doing a story on Mohila, but I haven't decided that yet. Okay. So anyways, yeah.
Followed every twist and turn of the payment pause, hoping it would spur broader student debt reform in Washington.
I've become more plugged into politics than I ever have in my life.
Millions of Americans in this country who feel disappointed and
guys, I'm sorry. I know this isn't about politics, but damn, Democrats. I know this channel is not about politics, but guys, can we get a president who looks awake? I'm sorry.
discouraged or even a little bit angry.
When President Biden in 2022 proposed debt cancellation of up to $20,000 for millions of Americans, Michael was elated. only to see that plan struck down by the Supreme Court.
Why would Michael care? Michael is holding on to $500,000 worth of debt. What is 20,000 going to do for him? He's probably gaining oh hell, he's probably gaining that in interest every quarter. I'm not sure if I'm actually right about that, but $20,000, I just love when I hear stories like, and this person holds $500,000 in student loans, and they are hoping and begging that the $20,000 forgiveness will come through. By the way, for those who don't know, I used to do radio. I used to do morning news. Just a little fact. But it's like, what is $20,000 going to do? And here's the other thing, if he were that concerned about $20,000, then why the bejesus did he go buy a house and get himself $500,000 in debt? He should have just been renting. That's what he should have done. And used the 3 years, like I just said earlier, just to get himself out of debt. And again, he's not going to pay off a $250,000 student loan, even with 0% interest. Okay. He wasn't going to pay that off in 4 years. But folks, he could have made one heck of a dent between he and his spouse. But that is lost opportunity. And have we not discussed that before? Lost opportunity.
Critics of loan forgiveness, especially with student debt, say so many Americans had to pay their own debt. Why should this generation be any different?
Yes, there are folks who have worked for it and were able to pay. Mind you, some of those folks paid a lot less than what we're paying these days. But that's a privilege to be able to do that, right?
But isn't this, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, family. Isn't this the same dude who just said, whatever it takes, it doesn't matter, I'm going to get the degree? Whatever it takes. Because when you take an attitude of whatever it takes, and that means you don't care about the bill. You're not looking at the financial repercussions. There's one thing I've learned, family. If you want to get out of debt or even control your debt, it's not even always about getting out of debt. Let's just control the debt first. You can't have a whatever it takes unless it's whatever it's going to take to get us out of debt. That's what we're going to be doing. If we have to eat ramen noodles with a hard-boiled egg on top and a little bit of frozen broccoli mixed in after we've heated up in the microwave, that's dinner. But it's just kind of odd that on one hand, he says, whatever it takes, $240,000 is totally worth it. And then on the other hand, he's down on one knee begging Uncle Sam for a $20,000 reprieve. It's just, look, I try to see it from all angles. And I completely understand the angle of people who go, look, you know what? We had to pay our debt. You pay yours. And I understand that. And I sympathize with that. But on the flip side, I can also say, but I'm a teacher. Do you know how many peanut butter sandwiches I've given out to students for free over the years? I had one student, she was impoverished. This was decades ago. And I've been teaching 18 years, so there's no way to identify this person at this point. This was over 10 years ago. And I was a brand new teacher. It's probably in my third, fourth year. And she would always ask me if I had something for her to eat. And I used to go, rah, 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 I don't go to, the typical, okay, we teachers, okay, you understand here. Do I go to your, lunch bag and disrupt you in the cafeteria for lunch? Okay, I wasn't trying to be mean. Keep in mind, I'm a brand new teacher, all right? It was only a couple of years in. And she finally came up to me one day and she goes, Miss Horn, she goes, I'm really hungry. And I finally looked at her and I said, do you not bring lunch? Well, it turns out she didn't. She didn't. And it also turns out she didn't live at home. So she was trying to get me to help her. And then I feel like a jackass. Here I am, So, hey, we learn, right? And I said to her, what would you like? She goes, I would just like breakfast, because she wasn't getting our school has free breakfast, but not the nutrients that we as teachers and parents would like our kids to have. So I said to her, I'll tell you what, I said, you're going to have breakfast anytime you want in my room. True story. I said, I've got a little hot water pot and I've got ramen, not ramen noodles, but oatmeal. I said, anytime. And if that's still not enough, I said, I'm going to keep a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in here for you as well. I did that for her for the entire year. And I would say 2 to 3 times a week, no questions asked. She'd have it. Right? It's just a thought. So these are the things that teachers do for students. So when somebody says, you shouldn't get your student loan forgiven, well, I ask you to maybe just reconsider. Just reconsider. And I'm not a fly-by-night teacher. I can tell you, home with love, not a fly-by-night teacher. Okay, we're there for the commitment. It's just the load is so financially heavy that they want us to take so we can be committed to somebody else's child. It makes it near impossible to pay off. This doesn't mean that everybody who goes to school to get a master's can't pay it off. There are people who go to school, get a master's, and they can pay it off. Every situation is different.
Sympathize with those who did pay off their loans and feel that we should have to do the same. But my argument against that would be we want to be a culture of progress. I wouldn't say to a young woman who's going to have children like, oh, well, you shouldn't get 24 weeks of paid maternity leave because I didn't get that. We notice areas where we could improve. And as a culture, we aim to make progress.
That's the lady, for those who may have come in a little bit late. She went to Columbia University and she has a $118,000 education that has now ballooned to $180,000. Just something to think about. And something else, people who think that public service workers, not just teachers, but public service workers shouldn't get their loans paid. Something I would just ask you to consider is the fact that, and I think I said this earlier, but I think it bears repeating. You want the most motivated people. You want the most motivated teacher, social worker, caregiver. They're public service caregivers too, right? Okay. In front of your loved one of any age. Do they deserve to be able to make a living? Should they make a living being able to do this? Guys, I live in an 840 square foot condo. I drive a Toyota Corolla. I have a significant, but I don't have a spouse and I don't have kids. I would be flat broke as a teacher if I had to try to support a family on my income of $62,000. I would be flat broke. If I had not purchased this condo in 2020, when I purchased it and I had stayed in my apartment, I would be paying upwards of 50 to 55% of my take-home teaching income on rent. My old apartment in 2020, when I left, was $1,000 a month. Today in 2024, it rents at $1,800 a month. I would be sunk. Are these the people you want teaching your kids? Not saying that I'm not a good person, okay? But what I am saying is I'm so broke because I want to be a teacher and I want to teach your kids, okay? This literally is what I can afford. This is what I can afford. I can't afford a house on a teacher income, even at $62,000. Not in today's market, absolutely not. And I know there are tons of other people in this situation. So it's not just me, and I'm blessed to be able to have what I have. But it's just something to think about. This is why when people sit and they go, oh, these teachers and educators and social workers, they shouldn't get loan forgiveness. But remember, they're public service workers. They're working with the people that you claim to love. Just something to think about. But I understand somebody who would say, I paid my student loan, why don't you pay yours? It's a valid point, very valid, and it really needs to be heard because I understand it. And to a certain extent, I even agree with it.
Sarah says one step toward progress would be permanently lowering interest rates on student loan debt.
Do you regret going and getting
that? They should do. Stop the freaking runaway student loan interest. I think there have been talks on and off politically about that. That is something I hope before I retire in 12 years, I hope that's something that we see major changes to, preferably sooner than later. Yeah, it's one thing. The lady has a $118,000 loan from Columbia. That's the lady you see on the screen here right now on the left. Okay. But really to have it jacked up to 180,000. Now she got that, years back, but clearly she can't pay it.
getting that master's?
I do, unfortunately. And that internally makes me very sad because it's something to be proud of, but I regret it. It's not.
And I would have kept my 110 student loan through retirement and it would have just kept building and building. Remember, when I graduated with my master's in teaching in 2006, it was 85,000. It grew to 110 over the 16 years I had it. And I was prepared to take it into retirement and go, they're just going to have to garnish me. There's nothing I can do about it because not saving for retirement is not an option.
Just it's anxiety. Again, it's taking away from what I can do for my children in the future. It's what we can do month to month. It's
But couldn't they have avoided that? She says they've got this student loan debt. It's taking away from her children's future, but she had 4 years to pay on it. She had 4 years and she chose not to pay on it. So whose fault is that? It's the same thing with the guy who bought the house who said, "Hey, you know what? I'm already $240,000 in debt. Let's go ahead and put me another, $250,000 in debt." The logic's not there, folks, but we have to take out our emotions. We have to remove our emotions from the finances. Separate those two, and you can actually make a decision. I failed to do that. I had emotion. The other thing I didn't tell you also is part of the reason I wanted to get a master's degree in education. I don't think I ever discussed this. I was running from the law. I'm just kidding. Not really. Okay. But what had happened was I had moved from Oregon and I had been through 3 job layoffs. I had never had a career. I had only had jobs. Guys, I wasn't going to F it up. See, but you need to understand the mind frame that I was coming from because every story is different. Why did I go and get a master's in education when I could have just gone through the school district? Because I had gone through 3 job layoffs, not fired, 3 job layoffs. All right. I had only held jobs, customer service, HR assistant, admin. I had never had a career. This was my real first shot of a career, and I didn't want to F it up. So what I do, I tried to be responsible. I went to an in-state school, got my master's degree, and then realized I couldn't pay it off.
it's a constant battle.